But yeah, we're happy with the outcome. We think the ABC is in the ideal position to be Australia's international broadcaster. You look around the world, it's the public broadcaster that's the international broadcaster for countries, and we've been in the business for a long time. We think we'll do a great job in the digital environment.
Even from the victor's view, though, this would have to be seen as a pretty messy process over the last 12 months.
Well, as I said, a long and complex process. We've been waiting for a long time for it to be resolved. It's been a long wait for our staff, but we're happy with the outcome. Others will judge and critique the process. Our challenge now is to think through what does it mean to offer this service in the time ahead.
I just want to ask you a few more questions about the tender process before we move to the future. A News Limited columnist this morning was saying it was pretty strange for this to be put out to tender in the first place. Were you surprised when it was?
Well, we argued that it didn't need to be put out to tender. The ABC had done a good job, and around the world, public broadcasters deliver this service. You know, we don't outsource our embassies, we don't outsource our defence forces, we shouldn't outsource our public diplomacy. So we'd made that argument and we made that argument under the previous government as well. A decision was made to put it to tender. As we've seen, that's been a long and a difficult process, but now it's been resolved.
Obviously, someone thought there was significant room for improvement in the service, though, if they decided that this should be put out to tender. You would argue against that, obviously.
No, I think what we'd say, Joe, is that the media environment is changing, and it's changing very significantly in the regions that we are operating in. What you've seen is a remarkable expansion of online and extraordinary growth of mobile phones and mobile technology. And what we have argued is that we need to create a converged international broadcaster, like the way we are here at the ABC. We deliver it on radio, we deliver it on television, we deliver it online, we deliver it on mobile. And this decision will allow us to do that with Australia Network. So no matter where you are in the region, no matter how you want to consume our content, you're going to be able to do that with a converged international broadcaster. And we've never been able to do that up until now.
Just one final question on the tender process. Your conduct during this process was brought into question by Minister Martin Ferguson, who said it was inappropriate that you had contacted him in relation to this. In future, you obviously do all you can for the ABC. That's part of your job, within reason. Would you go to a minister outside the specific area in relation to a process again?
I'd simply say, Joe, on this, that I talk with cabinet ministers and people in Canberra on both sides of the House all the time about the ABC's performance and our plans and ambitions for it. I think there was nothing in our behaviour around this process that we have any questions about, and we're relaxed with how we went about putting our case.
Okay, now looking to the future, how is the service going to change in coming years?
Yeah, well, under the previous arrangement, we've had to keep quite separate and quite discreet our international television service, Australia Network, our international radio service, Radio Australia. We've been offering Radio Australia for 70 years. And what this decision now allows us to do is to bring these two very closely together to basically create a seamless international broadcasting arm for Australia in much the same way that the BBC does it for the UK.
So what does that mean in layman's terms?
So it means that you can listen to a service, you can watch a service, you can experience it online or experience it through mobile, there'll be one seamless brand, and no matter where you are, you can experience the content you want on a device you want at the time that you want. And at the moment we've had fragmented brands, we haven't been able to have a common back office towards it, so we think it'll be more efficient and more effective for us, but certainly better for our audiences, and certainly better, stronger branding of Australia's international broadcasting arm for the nation.
Sky News was arguing one of its improvements on the ABC product was it was able to secure a deal with China and would be broadcasting into more countries.
Yeah. Well, can I say that we have partnerships with China. We're making co-productions with Central China Television, with our television division here. A critical question is landing rights, how you can distribute within China, and we are confident we have good relationships there that will allow us to make submissions around that. We don't think we're at any disadvantage at all to any other broadcaster as far as our effectiveness to get the distribution that's necessary for people to see and hear and read our content.
So this contract now is, I think it's 10 years at $223 million over the 10 years. Within that 10 years, can you see Australian network broadcasting into China?
Well, let me say this, Joe. My understanding of the decision yesterday is that this has now been awarded to the ABC in perpetuity. So it becomes part of our operation the way that News 24 is part of our operation.
Permanently.
Yeah, permanently. And so we're funded for that, and that funding gets indexed every year. Part of our strategy will be to increase our content presence in China. We're also going to focus extensively on India, but all across the region. We're very, very important in the Pacific on Radio Australia. We think there's growth for Australia Network there as well. And I think the key strategy that we're going to see in the coming decade is the growth of mobile. Just like people this morning are watching News 24 on their mobile phones, we're going to be able to take Australian content and deliver it to the world on mobile phones. In China, there are 600 million mobile phones. In India, there are 500 million mobile phones. A mobile strategy is a key to Australia's effectiveness as an international broadcaster. And here in Australia, the ABC has been the leader in creating content and delivering it on mobile phones. So we're in a great position to deliver this service in the years ahead.
Now, your competitor, Sky, has presumably pumped a lot of time and money into the tender process and putting its bid forward. Do you think it's fair enough that Sky should be compensated for all that time and money that it's put into the process now that it's been scrapped?
That's a matter for the government, and the government will, I'm sure, consider submissions that are made. But that's not a matter for us to comment on.
Okay, and you mentioned before that from the announcement overnight, it sounds like this is permanent. But is there anything really permanent in terms of politics?
Well, of course. But what the government has said, that this will now be a core responsibility of the ABC, and we need to deliver this core responsibility the way we deliver ABC One and Radio National and Triple J. We're going to view it that way, a core part of our operations. It's going to be properly resourced. It's going to be a strategic priority, and we'll report on our performance over time to the board, to the government, to Senate estimates, to the Australian public.
Okay, Mark Scott, thanks very much.
Thanks, Joe.